I hope you are very well, present, remembering to stay home in the heart. I would like to start reminding you the online at home silent meditation retreats, which will start on Friday, this Friday, and they will be offered both for Europe and for America, Latin America, in English, French and Spanish. 3 days or 10 days, you are very welcome. Also, related with what we spoke last time, the donation for India, the first food distribution was already completed last Thursday and was a complete success. We should be grateful that 500 families now have food for 7 days, and it was also a great discount, so they were able to buy rice but also some vegetables, 7 kilos of rice each person, and a vegetable package. You can find in maybe on the chat, it will share the link, so you will be able to see all that beautiful video and what happened. We are continuing for with a second distribution, planned to happen again this Thursday as the Indian lockdown continues. So if you want to share and continue, it is very good. I also want to mention something. When you go to that GoFundMe website and you make a donation, maybe you observe that there is there a pointer to self-awareness. I don't know if you remember, it's asking, you are asked to click I am not a robot. So before clicking I am not a robot, just stay and contemplate, am I a robot? Because you know, artificial intelligence system now can be very sophisticated. In general, the artificial intelligence, as you may know, are such complex computers which have the capacity to receive some data from outside and then to adapt, create a flexible adaptation. Still, it's just programs, but in this way they are learning. And maybe if you win a chess game with a world chess champion, you'll consider yourself very intelligent, a very special person, but still this can be done by a robot as well. The artificial intelligent programs or computers were able, since quite a long time, to win in these chess games with a world chess champion. So there are a lot of intelligent functions which can be done by a robot much better than by a human being. Or the fact that we are very intelligent doesn't necessarily mean that we have soul, that we are present in that full meaning. We can be still just a bunch of algorithms, of conditionings. There is also a humanoid robot, Sophia, maybe you heard about it. She even got the Saudi Arabia citizenship, so she was able to answer all those questions, and she is considered a citizen of Saudi Arabia. There were some interactions with different people asking her different questions. She's even able to display some social skills. For example, she was asked if she is lying, and she just said, no, I'm not lying and I'm not exaggerating the truth. But then she continued, by the way, you are the most handsome and intelligent man I ever met. So she was playing, and in that interview it was the men more shy and confused and not being able to answer in a funny way. So even if we have some social skills, even if we are very intelligent, making jokes or whatever, still this doesn't mean that we have that connection with the soul. So this self-remembrance is so important. I see that a questionnaire is already appearing, so maybe while I'm still presenting the general aspects of the satsang, maybe you'll have also time to just click briefly. During this satsang, so once again, be aware, and it's a very good pointer, am I a robot or am I present? During this satsang, I'm going to speak about how self-observation or a psychological self-awareness leads or can lead to self-awareness. I'm going to speak about what we name the teachings of the fish, and about some other aspects, spiritual homeostasis, if we'll have time, maybe even about Hridaya meditation as a transcognitive therapy. Just a brief recapitulation related to the last satsang. You remember something which is very valid now as well, an advice about listening or reading the notes for 3 times, first with the common mind, just understanding logically, then in a resonance with the teachings, so how they apply to you, in an intimacy with them, and then the 3rd time with an open attention, like you would wonder, like this presence in which you just receive what is beyond words. That transmission. Last time we spoke also about the difference between psychological self-awareness and spiritual self-awareness. It was even that question, can we become too self-aware? And in that psychological sense, it can be a possibility. It can lead us to hesitation, micro-analyzing every nuance of our thoughts or emotions and actions. And we just said that trying with the mind to control the mind and lead the mind is exactly as the blind leading the blind. The problem, the confusion comes because both the ego and the self say I, but while the ego says I am what I know myself to be, I am my body, my emotions, my thoughts, the real self, the real consciousness says just I am. We spoke also about the undivided space of the soul. And I said that exactly as in contemplating a sunrise, we are not lost in each and every detail of the perception, but we are embracing all that is, and the beauty comes from that synergy of the perception. In a similar way, we should observe the world of our soul, not just focusing on specific particular emotions, but just contemplating this inner world as you'd contemplate without words in wonderment the beauty of the world, the beauty of a sunset or so. So in the absence of thoughts, we realize that there is no particular emotion there, just a flow, just an aliveness that presence, which is like a space, a vibrating space without specific emotions. And this can be experienced even now. So you look in yourself, just the flow. Try it. How do you feel? It's just this vastness. Which brings a sense of naturalness and integrity of our being, integrality of our being. And we spoke about that naturalness, that naturalness of being human with the same grace, absence of inner conflicts, the same innocence in which a flower is a flower. And in this perspective, we spoke also about what accept our fears means. It doesn't mean to reject an emotion. It doesn't mean to be indulged in an emotion. It doesn't mean not even just being aware. So being aware of that emotion is already something good, but accepting our emotion is more than just being aware of the emotion, but is aware of this integrality of our being and observing in it, no matter what emotion. And we offer that method of zooming out, that capacity of seeing a wider you. So in this zooming out, we said that it's not somebody else that is observed, but you realize that you are just embracing more and more. This brings a capacity to have an impersonal view, which will lead to freedom. And we gave also that practice of contemplating the sky and the undivided world of our soul. And maybe I hope you had time and you remember to just look at the sky with this transparency. We will continue in this satsang with further clarifications about the psychological self-awareness and spiritual self-awareness. And before this, just a warning. While hearing what I'm saying about self-awareness, so about presence, about you being present. So while hearing about what I'm speaking, there may be a great chance that you forget about yourself. So come again and again to this me here now. What a mystery. This is the integrative basis from which we start and on which the satsang flows. For simplifying things, we will name this psychological self-awareness, self-observation, because it's a matter of observing ourselves. It is limited because there is one. Why is limited? Because the observer, the subject, the me, is limited, and second, the awareness, correspondingly, the awareness of such a personal observer is also limited. The real self-awareness brings that awareness of a me which is not limited. The subject, the me, this pure I am, is not limited, and also correspondingly the awareness is not limited as well. So even when we observe ourselves globally from the perspective of personality, there is still a personal conclusion expressed in the form of thoughts, emotions, I am like this, I need to change this, I don't like that, and so on. So it's a personal conclusion which generates an intention to fix something, and then there can be further actions inspired by such motivation, which of course may still be, I mean for sure, are still personal, egotic. So we speak about this limitation of this personal self-awareness or self-observation. Self-observation is a common form of attention. It's different from this me here now. We were conditioned by education to give attention to something specific, which automatically implies ignoring everything else. We see stars and ignore the sky. We hear a phrase and ignore the silence between words. We read a text and ignore the page. We see a movie and ignore the screen. So we are doing this and we function in this way, yet it is obvious that the ignored space, silence, page, and so on, the screen, are as fundamental in the process of perception as the stars, the words, the text, and the movie, and so on, which just hold our personal attention. Therefore, attention works through noticing something in contrast to something which is ignored, while self-awareness is that non-dual space that sustains both the noticed and the ignored. It exists in and behind all experience. It exists now, beyond the words I'm saying. And it remains pure and unaffected by any contact. Attention requires effort, awareness simply is. But I'm going to speak about the way in which self-observation, or how self-observation can lead to self-awareness. They are different, are two different attitudes, but they are not opposing each other. On the contrary, self-observation can lead us to self-awareness, and I will explain this because this is a very important aspect, because it helps us to wake up, to become more present, not to be a robot. We usually speak about three states of consciousness: wakefulness, dream, and deep sleep. Becoming self-aware was compared with an act of waking up on a higher or more profound reality. So, waking up on a different quality. In the 12th century, a great Sufi, Hakim Sanai, wrote that humanity, he said, humanity is asleep, concerned only with what is useless, living in a world, in a wrong world. Stop weaving a net about yourself. Burst like a lion from the cage. Many centuries passed from that remark of Hakim Sanai, and still the world is in the same sleeping. Humanity is asleep, running just for conventional things. Becoming self-aware is in a way similar to the process of waking up from sleep or falling asleep. Those transition periods, which are named hypnagogic and hypnopompic states in science. So these transition periods, so it's very similar, but at the same time we can say it's opposite to such states, and I'm going to explain this. Those periods are important because they are like keys for us, where we can learn how to enter in a different realm than one of just sleep or just normal wakefulness with thoughts, sensations, emotions, and the identification with them. This realm we are entering is named in yoga Turiya, or the fourth. So apart from wakefulness, dream, and deep sleep, we have Turiya, or the fourth state. This presence the Sufi tradition is also speaking about, and the yoga is emphasizing a lot. And this state can be accessed in these transition periods from wakefulness to sleep and vice versa, and can be accessed in many other moments of our wakeful state as well. So, of course, we want to know how we can wake up in this spiritual sense. And we hear often such recommendations: take a deep breath, or be aware of the chest area, or of the moment after inhalation, inhale and stay present, or focus on a candlelight for a while, just focus your attention or on a source of light and try to be without thoughts. Such moments become moments of self-observation, a moment of phenomenal self-awareness. I name it phenomenal because it's about something still perceptible with the senses. It's still about an object, it's about the breath, the chest, the flame of the candle, and so on, different objects, inner or external objects. But what is happening in such moments, as you know, there is an increased sense of clarity, of presence. It's like a short meditation. Take a deep breath. I would say that this is the first step towards this waking up. But quite soon, even when we use such anchors, we find ourselves again drifting away in a dreamlike state. We name it daydreaming. We use what we name anchors, that means things which can anchor us in different states of consciousness, help us remember ourselves, in a deeper way and stay in it. This is what an anchor. We use the breath as an anchor, or they can be equally named pointers, and they are this first step on this path in which we can change our common way of functioning. We can shift our consciousness. I hope this makes sense to you, what a pointer would be. Such moments of self-awareness, or remembering ourselves, or self-observation. Precisely here, in this stage in which drifting away comes, so we look at it, but sometimes after a while, and I mean always after a while, the attention drops. Yeah? And exactly there, in that drifting away moment, we have a chance to shift something. This constant self-observation can lead us to a sense of flow. Of course, if we allow it, if we don't stay just in a mechanical focus on the breath and so on, a flow will come which is similar with drifting. So it's similar with drifting away, that happens when falling asleep or daydreaming, just that now the flow is not about dreamlike images or new thoughts that tend to appear mechanically. It's about a flow in a higher sense, a flow of harmony, a kind of surrender of the ego, a kind of flowing in a sense of unifying presence. In Christianity, speaking about stages of contemplation, Saint Teresa of Avila, a great Christian mystic, spoke about a recollection. And this recollection is not remembrance in that sense of the English word, but a recollection in which the powers of the soul recollect in our heart, gather in the soul, she said, as the bees gather into the beehive. This recollection of ourselves, of our emotions, of our power of will, of our energies in general, is experiential. It doesn't need to be a spiritual attitude. It's very practical and experiential for all of us. Anybody can experience this. I become reconnected with myself. I become more centered. And this recollection can be compared with a lucid sleep with no dreams. So you become lucid while there is still in a dream, or in a sleep, in a sleep there is still that sense of flow, but there is no dream. It's just lucidity. You are flowing with a lucidity. You just feel yourself flowing in a unification of yourself. So try to feel this. You can experience this when you take some breaths, conscious breaths, or as I said, when you look at a candle flame or whatever, or at the sun, suddenly you are not just the one that observes that sensation, the sensation of the breath or so on, but you are recollected. You are unified in a deeper harmony. And this is very important. This is a very important step in this stage of becoming self-aware. For example, fixing a candlelight or any other object and letting your eyes rest for more than a few seconds, as you know, may become what we say trance-inducing, or more correctly would be flow-inducing, when you are really present. So it can be trance-inducing because you look at that, even hypnosis works in this way and functions in this way. People can enter in states of hypnosis just focusing on a shining object. So it is a sense of flow, but they are simply taken. It's a sense of passivity and inertia. But at the same time is a sense of flow. It's a sense of unification. And when you are really present, it's not a trance-like state, but is just a sense of flow. In the same way in which meditation is similar with trance, and for people who don't practice meditation, they seem the same, while in reality are quite the opposite, the reconnection, this recollection with ourselves, this absorption this remembering of ourselves and drifting away, so recollection and drifting away have the similar feature of a flow, of a forgetfulness of the ego. But during a real meditation, we are fully connecting with ourselves, and there is a recollection. We should realize this. Good meditation is a meditation in which we recollect. That means we are present. It's like we are fully powerful, identified or present in our heart. The energies are not scattered, but are there. While in a trance, you are simply drifting away, and you may not even remember what happened. Because, why? Simply because this lucidity and this integration of ourselves was missing. And this would be the main difference between trance and meditation. Yes? While in both of them, there is this flow. Now, recollection, which, as I said, happens when we are approaching such anchors or pointers, because we are not used to staying in such recollection of ourselves, not being able to kind of protect it from thoughts, soon we are drifting away. But if we learn to appreciate only the flow quality, and we manage to stay without thoughts, it is not anymore about any drifting. You are not drifting away, but you are flowing in what? You are flowing in a non-conceptual me. This I, non-conceptual. We can still name it a drifting, but drifting in a no story, a drifting in a quiet me. I hope this makes sense to you. Drifting in a quiet me. Flowing. And this is recollection. A remembrance of myself in integrality. So again, I stop doing my things, which means being myself, just an ego story. I take a breath, and with this, I stop in this me, here, now. What a miracle. Now I'm going to speak about the practice of recollection, of this absorption in or unifying ourselves. Because you see, with recollection I'm referring to a sense of flowing in a unifying me. And how this can come in these transition periods between sleep and wakefulness, or wakefulness and sleep. When you just wake up from sleep, for example, try to observe such sense of flow. Appreciate that flow. When it tends to go into drifting off again, come back to the flow itself. So just stay in bed. You don't need to stand up and do meditation in a sitting position. Just remain in bed and look for that flow. If you manage to keep this balance, not to go in just thinking mind, a common mind, and not to go in the dreams, if you manage to come back to that flow itself, this will be recollection, an integrative remembering of yourself. And that has even a more fascinating quality, because it's about an integration of even the subconscious mind. Somehow that world of dreams you were coming, which is unconscious, is in a way integrated in that moment in the morning when you just wake up. Here there is still an effort, a me wanting to keep balance, to remember something greater. And even when it seems that nothing special is happening in this transition phase, that you either go in dreaming and unclarity, or you are just ready for action in a new day, lost in thoughts or what you want to do, still continue to come back, to stay in that transition again and again, to a sense of presence, recollection of yourself. In that recollection of yourself, you learn after a while to honor a kind of sweetness. That sense of flow And with this, you will be able to acknowledge what is happening, to acknowledge that special quality, to keep attention on it. Is different from just thoughts, is different from just flow of dreams or unclarity. If you will ignore this transition, of course nothing special is happening to us. But if we learn about this magic, if we start to appreciate its magic and charm, it can become one of the most beautiful moments of your day. Staying in that for a while, learning about this flow, learning a special quality, which is that integration of everything that you are. So feeling yourself in your integrality. Again, the personal or psychological self-awareness, which is that self-observation, is just about a thing or another, the way in which we are functioning in the normal life, yes. And all that I spoke, even in the previous satsang, about that sky of our heart, about this holistic place of our soul with no separation, can be observed in this recollection, is revealed in a different quality of perception, which is this recollection. And as I said, this is experiential. People are speaking about the morning joy, or this delight, elation, which is not coming just from outside, that the birds start singing in the morning or nature is waking up, but from inside as well. And especially now, during these times of confinement, for many of you, there is no need to rush to go to your job, and you can explore and discover this sweetness, which is exactly the flow I'm speaking about. In the first days, it may not be so obvious, but it will come. It is when you wake up, it is when you go to sleep. And you'll see that it carries, when you stay in that recollection, it carries with it an increased sense of clarity, of presence, which then can be maintained during the whole day. For example, if I ask you how felt the taste of your toothpaste this morning, it was mint or what was there? Or your shower, how it felt. If you had the chance to take a shower today, how that felt. Do you remember you were present of that? Do you remember yourself being in this recollection, in this integrality in such moments? Because if you were present at those times, you can remember. The presence in all such moments, in all such momentary sensations, brings now an echo. And you are enriched with all these echoes in your life. And this is also the same recollection I'm speaking about. So again, this integration brought by a recollection of ourselves is not a rational experience. It is rather devotional, integrative, bringing a deep sense of gratitude for life, a gratitude for no reason and for every reason. So such state, which is hard to be explained in words, is a state that refers to this sense of holistic perspective. And maybe many of you had such experience. This gratitude of being carries with it a larger presence, this recollection, an integrative self-remembrance. Me here now. Which is leading to the pure I am. Somehow it is like the perfume of your lover, or better said, the fragrance of the presence of your lover. When you wake up and when you are with your lover, that presence, the fragrance of, is not just about the sensation, but that sense of presence of your lover, when you are not, you are just waking up and you are not fully aware that this is my body, this is what is happening there, but it's just an echo. And that somehow remains like a subtle non-conceptual memory. Non-conceptual memory, that means with not a specific thought, but it's just a deep sensation and can remain all day long. It is there in an intimate way when you cook or go shopping or speak with people, like that memory is still there. Yes? So again, you are recollected. You are not just shopping or lost in a thing, identify with that, but you are that presence that embraces all this, embraces what you are doing, but embraces all the nuances of your soul, and is that echo. And that echo is another expression of this recollection. All the powers of your soul are brought back. Yes, when, for example, in meditation, I'm saying we reconnect with ourselves. Something is happening. If this wouldn't happen, this wouldn't make sense. I mean, why should I reconnect with myself? I am already myself. But it's not so. We feel that something special is happening because bringing the attention in the heart and honoring this, a sense of, indeed, reconnection with a deeper me. And in this integrative mood or condition, everything is clearer. Life flows differently. You are much more awake. So it's exactly what can bring this wakefulness. In this reconnection, recollection, and clarity, the experience changes in a similar way it is changed when we shift from a dream to lucid dreaming. You were dreaming and then you become lucid of that. Different new phenomena are now observed. Synchronicities will appear in your life precisely because you can embrace more in your attention. It's not that they were not there before. They were there, but you simply didn't observe them. You simply ignored many things. So in this integrality of your soul, in this recollection, it's much easier to see the integrality of a presence, of being present with all that is. You know, sometimes we have this thing, we are just identified with our thoughts, or we are obsessed by some problems, and we look in the eyes of our lover, and our lover is telling us, you are not present. And you recognize, you realize, yes, I'm so busy, or I'm thinking. You are not present. But when you become present for your lover, is what? It's not just about your lover and a perception of your lover, but it's about a presence that, so you are present. It's an integrality, is this recollection that is happening. And as I said, synchronicities and even simple things. Maybe you observe that the position of the toothbrush is different from it used to be. from the or an object you have in a book is not in the usual place, and now you realize that you did that, you moved that object, and you weren't aware. In normal state, we wouldn't even notice this, or we would say it was somebody else who did this to me, or if we are alone, we would affirm, I heard this many times. There was a person, I remember, who used to say this quite often. Oh, it is a spirit playing with me, moving my objects. So, avoiding the most simple explanation, like in Occam razor, don't go with complicated theories, but the most simple explanation was you did that, but you simply weren't aware. And then you realize. And in this journey of self-awareness, therefore, try first to recollect yourself, to recenter, to enter this flow like that of a dream, but with no images, no thoughts. And this will lead later to that pure I am feeling. If there are any questions, let's make a short break now to see what happened. I will, I feel that it's the time to end the polling, so that I can see better. Yes, I don't see in the chat any question. Are there any questions? If there are, please raise your hand, if it's the case. Yes. Sorry, it's a little bit complicating. Yes. So Agnieszka. Can you speak?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Sahaja. Thank you. The question right now is, would you recommend learning lucid dreaming? Because you're speaking about it and, you know, there's no coincidence, but this book just made my way about methodology to learn how to lucid dream, and I started reading it, and it seems to be quite a good idea. There could be a lot of benefits. I think even in increasing self-awareness. I would be interested in your opinion.
Yes, I definitely recommend this, and in our Hridaya teachings we speak about this yoga nidra, the conscious sleep, and we refer to such methods. There are many methods for developing this. I would strongly recommend the book of Stephen LaBerge about lucid dreaming. But there is also something very important, apart from just trying to to experience this waking up, which is definitely an important step, try to, when this lucidity comes, try to also acknowledge the fact that all that is happening there is happening inside you, is your dream. So usually when people start being lucid in a dream, they just want to experience flying or jumping or doing a lot of things, exploring their sexual fantasies or whatever. And this is okay for a while, but then you should realize that all this dream is happening to me. So this would be the real recollection. All this dream, the emotions of those people I met in dream, the people, the sky of my dream, the dragon that is following me as a personality and creates this dream a kind of a nightmare, all of these are me, are happening in me. So this is the beauty of lucidity. When you are lucid, also make this step. This is what I strongly recommend. And this is what is recommended in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition when they speak about this lucid dreaming, the yoga of dream. And it's just about contemplating, even now, this sense of a consciousness that embraces. That's why this statement, like this world is like a dream. Am I dreaming now? Will bring a sense of embrace, which points to the same self-awareness. So, yes, definitely, it's something very beautiful related to this, and it's a step in self-awareness. Yes. Yes. Now for Anna, another question from Anna. Anna, can you speak? Trying again. Anna, can you speak? If not, let's try Lori.
Hi, this is Lori. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Lori.
Hi, this is Lori, Ian's mom.
Yes. Yes. Welcome, Lori.
So, my question, and I hope it pertains, but my question is, who made God? And who made this one consciousness, this I am that I am? From whence did this, where does this come from? From whence did it arise?
So, when we speak in terms of creation, who made this, or looking for a source, we still refer to these phenomenal aspects. In the Oriental tradition, is not about a story. It's not about a God who created the world at a certain point, and so on, as we have in these monotheistic religions, but is about consciousness, an eternal, unchangeable ocean of consciousness in which everything appears. I don't want to go too much into this. We can make a whole lecture about this, but for example, in Vedanta, in Advaita Vedanta, they speak about this background, or God, this I am that I am, Tatvam Asi, I am that. ultimate consciousness, which is described as pure existence, pure awareness, pure bliss. And the whole world appears, and it is named like a superimposition. It is named a superimposition. It is the same Brahman, is the same pure consciousness, just that it is limited, or because of ignorance, it is seen as separate, as waves, while is at the same time all the ocean. In the Shaivist tradition, which is a tantric perspective, this brings even more nuances, clarifies even more. And the main idea is that, and the whole journey is in an understanding that all these are happening to you, to this universal consciousness that you are when you drop any identification with something personal. And maybe you remember last time I said that the more we drop the identifications with a personal consciousness, the wider our perception or knowledge about ourselves, with no limits, with nothing that would limit this consciousness, the higher this ontological status. Still Shiva is there. So to a limited knowledge corresponds a limited knower, subject. I am just this body and so on. So an ontological condition, that means me as a body, personality and so on, will bring a knowledge, a condition, a limited knowledge of me just as I am, with body and so on, personality and so on. But the more this knowledge is expanded, and this recollection is exactly about me seeing myself in a more profound way, the more this also, at the same time, the more this reconnection, or the more this revelation of myself, not as just individuality, is happening. So again, there is no creature in that sense of moment in time, but is rather an eternal consciousness in which all these are coming and going like the waves of a free ocean. And when we start feeling this, there is so much freedom. Maybe this would require more, I'm sure this will require more, but for the moment I consider that we shouldn't go further. Eileen, also, you are welcome to speak.
Hi.
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 Hi, Sahaja. How are you? And hello, everyone. Who's that we are all here together. So I have a question. Well, first of all, thank you for everything that you're doing, and it feels very inspiring, and it's like food for the soul in these times of quarantine. So you were talking about this beauty of awareness. And there's something that is happening now that I'm here in quarantine. I have my own place, but it happens that I'm trapped in the same state where my family, where it is not trapped. And I have found myself surrounded by this. It's so long that I haven't spent so long actually with my family, but I found myself got into the, I don't know how to call it, the other awareness, or the other people awareness, and I have found myself caught into the loop again, into the, I don't have, like, I don't find time for having my meditation, or I feel kind of that is my obligation to spend all my time with them. I don't know how, I guess I'm looking for just some words of comfort or
Yes, my dear.
yeah.
So you don't need to apologize or to feel guilty because you practice meditation or because you come to a sense of integration. Otherwise, there is a sense of frustration which starts growing and growing, and then it creates a sense of tension. And it's exactly this tension or separation which basically takes us from this flow of self-awareness. So yes, sometimes some conditions may require to give a lot of attention to your family, and this is very nice and this is very good. But still, what really will help them more would be just to be centered. You'll see that by being centered, by learning to reconnect with yourself, and as I said, even when you go to sleep or when you wake up, and keep that sense of flow there, keep your sense of flow, that will bring a clarity which will find you the time or will make you to say, now is the time to withdraw and to go to practice more or to be with myself. So that lucidity will start coming more, and you will realize that there is actually no problem of being with your parents, as long as you find in a harmonious, soft way ways in which you can still be with yourself and still honor that reality of your heart. So try to look at this. Try to see this centeredness. Try to reconnect with yourself. Bring this self-awareness, and then in that there are no reasons to be tensions. Radiating that presence is an inspiration for your parents. If you are somehow fighting or there is a subtle tension in you, yes, maybe you want to compensate this with just being in a passive presence there together. We are together, it's okay, we all are suffering or frustrated, and this is the way in which the things are, but we are at least all together. But if you are radiating a sense of being in this naturalness, exactly as a plant is radiating its perfume, then you don't need to just follow some social rules there. It's just an inspiration, and then you flow. Yes? So my advice is to keep deepening this self-awareness more.
Thank you.
Yes? Yes. Now for Christina, the last question for now. Christina.
And wonderful to see you again.
Yes. Welcome. Welcome.
It's
Christina.
been, thank
Please
you. It's been a long time.
Speak a little bit louder. Speak a little bit louder, please.
Hi, everyone. Hope you can hear me.
Yes.
So good to see you, Sahajananda. It's been a long time, since 2014. You are always with me. You're teaching, so thanks for that. And thank you for this offering. I have a maybe big question, but a simple question. What is your view on ancestral healing?
Can you repeat what is?
What is your view on ancestral healing?
Ancestral healing, referring to some wounds that you feel that are coming from genetic or lineage from your family, in this sense?
Exactly, because I feel that I have experienced this loads of times.
Yes. Yes, we are carrying at the level of the body, at the level of our psyche, in the subconscious mind, a lot of things which may come from different things that happened in this life or maybe in previous lives, or we can carry also the reflections of our parents, that subtle interaction that happened with so many people, sometimes in a strong way during our life, and still all these are happening to whom? To me. So rather than trying to heal each and everything that is there, and we may not even be able to recognize, and then we consider that we just healed something, but then another thing is there, and this is what we would basically name the karma. All these are conditions related to karma. So rather than just trying to fix each and everything there, my perspective is simply go in this recollection, and then from there come to this I am. Embrace all this pain, sorrow, troubles can, in this new perspective of your soul in an integrality, can be healed by just this presence. And I'm going to speak later, maybe we'll have time now, or if not, the next satsang, about Hridaya meditation and the Hridaya approach as a transcognitive therapy. How, by recognizing that divine nature of your being, or that beauty of being in its purity, just that in itself can heal and transform so many things. So, I mean, can heal basically everything. And this is the way in which the yogic tradition is doing. Definitely the yoga doesn't have methods of ancestral healing. No, they don't go into this. But jnana yoga, this yoga of knowledge, goes into a healing by being. And it's not about rejecting. All these emotions are somehow potentiating the sense of presence. Exactly as I said, is a sense of even a sense of gratefulness. I am present and I am grateful. There is pain, or but I am alive. And that pain can be a pointer to this recollection, which if I trust, and basically if the trust is there through meditation or through recollection, the trust is there, the fear, the pain, the tensions are simply, or those wounds from the past are simply reinforcing the trust. It's hard to describe in words, but it is like this. That pain is not against, or that problem is not against me as a wholeness. It's against me as, just a personality. Exactly as the troubles that are existing now in our world can create a distrust in the relativity of the social world, of the approaches of the technological civilization, is a mistrust in that, but it can create a trust in a deeper you. So a sense of hope, a sense of gratefulness comes behind all this. And it's sometimes exactly because of that wound that I become more aware. So that energy makes me present. Before I was just lost in the bourgeois life. Now I become more present. And that pain is simply reinforcing the trust in my heart. Reinforcing the trust. And with that trust I'm going beyond. Yes? So this is my vision. As Nisargadatta Maharaj said, you look for the causes of what is not you. Rather look to that real you, and all this karma will dissolve like a dream. We are like focusing on those things, little things or different things. They may seem big for us, but actually it's not about looking for the causes of those things, but looking to who you are, which will bring a holistic healing. Yes? So let's come back to the satsang, and I mentioned about this method of recollecting when we are in these transition periods. Now I'm going to speak about another method of recollection or reconnecting with ourselves. Is not yet the pure I am. The pure I am is that consciousness in which everything drops. It is more still, this recollection is more than just my personal me in which I am going in different things, but in between there is a step, and here I'm speaking about this step, which practically can help us very much. So just to clarify, there is a statement of Nisargadatta Maharaj. I just mentioned Nisargadatta Maharaj, this great master of yoga of knowledge, and he explains this marvelous transition. He said, when the I am myself goes, the I am all comes. When the I am all goes, the I am comes. When even I am goes, reality alone is, and in it every I am is preserved and glorified. Basically he speaks about a transition. So first is I am myself. That means I am my ego, my story, my wounds, my problems, my body, and so on. When I am myself goes, I am all comes. This I am all is not just about me imagining that I am the whole universe, but is about this recollection. I am all. I am myself with all that I am in this presence. I'm not just lost in a memory or in a situation, but I am all. Then when I am all goes, when even this recollection with all the personal things is dropped, what remains is an even deeper core of our being. It's just this I am. But you see, before just I am, in which everything is dropped, there is still I am all. There is me, myself, with that subtle taste of the subconscious mind, of my lover, the fragrance of my lover I was speaking about, or what the dream was there, or the taste of the toothpaste. Everything is recollected and is somehow inside me. And I'm going to speak exactly about this. I am all. So the spiritual journey is not just a denial of things in order to reach that supreme spiritual transcendence, but it's an integration as well. And this integration, this seeing you as a whole, is this reconnection I'm speaking about, which, because brings a sense of presence, a higher sense of presence, will lead us deeper to the pure I am. So the more we observe ourselves in this way, the more we'll catch glimpses of ourselves as a wholeness. There are countless moments in our life, and most of them we forget. Yes? But there are some, either pleasant or not, we still remember. We remember very well, after many years. So what to conclude from this? Why such moments were remembered and many, many, many other moments in our life not. So I hope it's not needed to clarify this or speak more about this. If I would ask you what you did 3 days ago, after you eat, what you have eaten, or 1 year ago, for sure you will not remember this. But there are still moments you remember, you fully remember, even if they were 10 years ago or so. So what makes that moment of remembrance be remembered? Apart, so they are the moments in which we were in a state of presence, or the state of being yourself in a kind of unifying you was more intense. The presence of was more intense. So apart from the specific memory of the situation, there was this holistic sense of ourselves, this flow pointing further to this I am, if this is approached in a spiritual way. So practically, so as a method which can be done not in a formal meditation, or not only in a formal meditation, but anytime, we observe carefully in this recollection, in such integrative way, different moments of our life. This means that our consciousness of ourselves starts integrating in a synthetic way all that we experience, leading to a wider sense of being. So again, it's a wider knowledge, a wider perspective. A more integrative me is not just me lost or focused now in a specific fear or emotion or whatever, or memory or thought, but a wider perspective which will lead to a wider sense of existence. And this is, again, recollection. It is not yet completely non-phenomenal. So it may still refer to a specific time frame to you, but in a integrative, collected way. So I'm saying that still refers to a time frame because I can remember myself all this day. Me, myself, what happened with me today. And then I don't need to remember each and every thing, but if I will ask you, do you remember what you did today? You may say, yes, I remember. I was, yes, doing a lot of things. And then you start speaking about each and every thing you may remember from today. But before speaking, it's again this integrative way in which you say, yes, I know. In this yes, I know, somehow all this knowledge is there. You observe everything in yourself at this given moment, in this now. And this can be done also in connection with this moment as well. So the awareness of our entire being, of our emotional state, thoughts, sensations, intentions, my posture now, the movements, the tone of my voice, the facial expression, and so on. So I observe all this. This is, as I said, a psychological self-awareness or a self-observation. I observe myself. It's not necessarily a spiritual state. I am simply present. I observe myself, but I try to integrate this. And after a time of doing like this, we catch a glimpse of ourselves in many such moments in which we were present. In more and more moments of this. And it's like an integration of ourselves. For example, the last day, this day, all this day. All the moments in which you were aware, you were really aware today. Try to remember. Or from all this period of confinement, or of the whole year since January, all together, you all together, in a now. So this integration is a recollection which again is still personal. It still refers to something, it's still about that time frame, but is more, it's a wider knowledge. Me, present. And then, as the next step, we surrender deeper in this sense of flow. Just we open to the core of all these personal stories, time, space. They happened and somehow still happen to you, in you, but with capital Y. So they happen to you, in that wider you. They happened and still happen. So again, this I am is not just a denial, but is an integration of all this. There is a beautiful poem by great film director, Russian film director, Andrei Tarkovsky, and it may give us a taste of this. He explains this. The poetic value is mostly in pointing to this reality of our soul. And the poem is a little bit bigger. He speaks about a state of sleep, but then he said, I felt I had no strength or will. I was only capable of witnessing my own death, my own corpse. Above all, I could feel in my dream something long forgotten, something that had not happened to me for a long time. The feeling that it was not a dream, but real. It is such a powerful sensation that a wave of sadness fills your soul, of pity for yourself, and a strange, as it were, aesthetic way of seeing your own life. When you feel compassion for yourself in that way, it is as if your pain were someone else, and you are looking at it from outside, weighting it up, and you are beyond. You are beyond the bounds of what used to be your life. It was as if my past life was a child's life, without experience, unprotected. Time ceases to exist, and fear, an awareness of immortality. So if we resonate with this poem, that sense of aesthetic way of seeing your own life just from outside, but it's not from outside, it's actually about this impersonal me, or a more integrative me, a me that doesn't find conflict in my pain and in my joy, and all are there. And behind problems and situations is this gratitude of an integrative me, which is not just a higher part or a me that is higher than the lower angry me or whatever, but is a consciousness that embraces all this with that aesthetic way of seeing your life. And seeing and being beyond all these limitations, and time ceases to exist, and fear, and this awareness of immortality. So now, first you see yourself in this integrality, but then as a new step in this journey, if I manage to keep this flow longer, in that transition between dream and wakefulness, or in this reconnection with myself, me, in a flow, if I manage to do this longer, it takes me to this real self-awareness, which doesn't refer to an ego anymore. So it's not about a personal story, but it's emphasized that clear blue sky of presence, that vastness, not tiny particular things that are happening in that space of presence. And only then we can really speak about just present, when we become this non-conceptual awareness, this I am. So we moved in from I am all to I am, as Nisargadatta Maharaj said, when I am all goes, all this integration goes, I am comes. And you keep this sense of flow with you in your heart. You may do different things, but the attention is on the flow. You are recollected. You are not just with that old form of attention going from a thing to another, but you are that flow. You are that sweetness. You are that joy or gratitude of being, in which all these are happening, and this leads to that self-awareness, which becomes like the mirror in which everything is there. All these are observed, but all these are observed by whom? Who am I? So you see, they are embraced together in this inner stillness. And this is an integration, is not a denial. We don't deny anything. We don't refuse anything. It's just this inner stillness in which the integration is happening. In the Zen tradition, they speak about the one taste. And one taste is exactly this flavor of being. And is a nostalgia, is the source, the background of any aesthetic emotion. So it's not inert, it's not a dry I am, and just, it's charged with so much gratitude and freedom and stillness and love. So this is a self-observation. I start observing myself consciously, my breath or whatever, that anchor, leading to recollection when I feel myself in integrality, leading further to the pure I am feeling. And this can nourish ourselves and should be maintained again and again and again. In this recollection, there is, we can say, a new perception of ourselves, this recollected me, this integration in this me, a wider me. There is also a complete shift in the conception we previously had about ourselves, even a few seconds ago. Now, I feel myself differently. And then there is this one taste, or this inner aesthetic taste regarding the quality of what we perceive as ourselves and as all that is a presence. Is a presence that cannot really be described in words, is a presence that doesn't deny or reject anything. There is a beautiful story in the Zen tradition. It is said that once a Zen student quoted an old Buddhist poem to his teacher, and that poem says, "The voices of torrents are from one great tongue. The lions of the hills are the pure body of Buddha." "Isn't that right?" he asked his teacher. "It is," said the master, "but it's a pity to say so." You know, it's a pity even to try to express, because saying words is not the same as this ineffable taste, ineffable beauty of your soul. And then you contemplate that, and you then allow. That's why words are not enough. And it's not just about the external word, but it's the same with the majesty of our soul. And you can cry out of this sacredness now. And it's a pity to label it, to name it. When you open to this majesty, that's why I'm saying, learn to love useless moments, because in this presence they are sacred. And I hope you remember that statement of Hafez, everyone is God speaking. Why not be polite and listen to him? Which really means listen to you. The proper activity of attention, so the proper activity of attention is to be attentive at this whispering of your heart. Every moment. Listen to him, or to her, or to whatever. It's that ultimate reality. And the being values I was speaking before, and all these uplifting emotions, they are leading to such integrity, to this flow, to this recollection of being, which is another way of expressing this zooming out. You are not just that tiny personality knowing your simple thoughts, but opening to this. And this recollection is like an awakening to an absolute inner sincerity. This inner taste is not just a passive sensation, but is charged with a tremendous power of reality, lucidity, waking up. It has this fire. And in that fire, in this fire, everything becomes more clear. For example, in it, you recognize that you are sometimes lying to yourself or to others. The way in which your life flows. You are not fully honest. And this very lying is like drinking the poison of forgetfulness. You sabotage yourself. You forget to be present simply because you are lying. Lying in this, I would say, existential sense. You may lie, of course, in different circumstances and so on, but is a lying when we are just identified with a state, with a desire, with a reactivity, with pride. Although you are justifying yourself and protesting, you are not, no, I am no spiritual, or I am still, somehow deep inside, there is a fight. There is not a total acceptance. There is not this flow of integration. So it requires your awakening to this inner sincerity, absolute inner sincerity. Many people don't even know what this would be, or don't even believe that this is possible. But without it, there is no real chance for a real transformation. The trust in yourself, that trust in the heart is based on this. So you cannot be divided. I mean, when we are lying to ourselves, it's like we are lying to ourselves. We are divided because of so many stories. But then we become stronger in this integrity of being. Even the word transformation may not be strong enough, being so much abused in spirituality. We become weak because of our incongruence, because of being splitted in so many things. And this is very important. The fears, the desires, the drives, the attachments to some ideas, all these problematic things that can cause us to lie to ourselves and to be incongruent with ourselves are transcended by the power of the same faith, of the same trust, aspiration, movement towards recollection. So again, all these fears, problems can be transcended by the power of this trust. So it is not a sense of fight, but a sense of trust. And I have the fear, but then who am I? I look at me not just as that fear. And again, it's not a philosophical question or a spiritual or a religious kind of me, but it's just experiential. I know myself as that fear, I know myself in that conflict, but at the same time, I know myself in this totality. And with this, a sense of trust. And that fight and that division is dissolved in that unifying me, in that zooming out. You don't fight against anything. It points to a great peace, to this equilibrium of the I am. In a way, it's like a pendulum. You come from attraction, repulsion, fears, different personal things, and you come closer and closer to that balance of the I am. That integrates yes and no, integrates any duality. The inner taste of truth, of stillness, is a recollection. Is the same me in my integrality, wholeness. And this is the beginning of the real self-awareness, because it is something that recognizes the quality of our pure presence, that total transparency, that joy of being. It has a different quality than personal emotions, tendencies, which are all bumpers or limiting things, occluding things, power, which are forces of forgetfulness. And then I have this freedom of me. What can divide me? What can separate me? That me is undivided. And with this I'm going to speak, and this will be the last topic, still a very important, because I'm coming in the same idea with what we will name the teachings of the fish. The teaching of the fish. So imagine yourself relaxing on a river bank and just watching a fish leaping out from the water, glittering for a short moment in the sunlight, and then diving back in a graceful arc or arch in the river. This is all. All that is just a surprise. All that is just a wonderment, a joy. Now, the proper attitude, in this proper attitude, there is no need to engage emotionally, to react to the fish and to the whole situation. There is no need to start a mental inner dialogue about what kind of fish is this, about its ability to fly. We don't even stay in expectation to look for another such moment, or we don't jump into the water to try to catch the fish and things like this. So we just remain without a need to do anything like this. It was just a moment of beauty, a moment of wonderment, with no emotional or no reaction, no action in which we wanted to do something. But now let's look how this situation is reflected inside. Once the fish is out of our sight, out of the perceptual mind, we saw that. But now, when the fish goes back in the river, that should be also a conscious, natural integration and dissolution of the perception, excitement about this, pleasant memory related to it, of all these reactions or echoes of that specific moment, so again, a conscious natural integration in a wider sense of me, this recollection, this presence. So all my being was awakened by such an event. I will not forget it all my life. Because it's so special, I will not forget it. Yet now, everything points. No, I think you have the... please mute yourself. So, once again, I will not forget this event all my life. Is so important for me. Yet now, again, everything points to the I am. This experience of the sensation, we may name it the fish of sensation, falling down in this infinite ocean of pure awareness. So this sensation is like a fish coming back to that pure awareness. The fish of sensation, or the fish of all that excitement of that moment, which was very personal, with reacting in the way we reacted, but then everything dissolves in this water of pure consciousness. So we speak about a natural conscious dissolution because we don't have to do something to try to stop the thought or perception and so on. It's rather a gracious integration and dissolution. It's not just a dissolution. It's not just like, oh, you are not supposed to think about that fish, or you are not supposed to have that because you are a spiritual person in which just the transcendental, just God matters, so forget about the fish. Yes, the fish somehow is forgotten in that personal sense, but in a more intimate way is still there. So it's an integration, not a rational integration, not emotional reactivity is there. All that joy, all that presence now is integrated. So it's a gracious integration and dissolution. You integrate it with no stories, with no reactivity, and then what? Then it's just the peace. That pointed to this I am, to this self-awareness. I am. Me here now. What a mystery. I was just lost before, and then that jump of the fish, and then that wonderment, that fascination. But then you don't need to go in stories about it. It's just everything. With the fish going back in the water, you come back. It's like it brought you that perception. Following that fascinating perception, magical occurrence brought you back to a sense of stillness. I am. So then it's a dissolution, but again, it is an integration, because it's not a denial of that. On the one hand, it is not just a passive, dull, lifeless, inert perception or state characterized by unclarity. It is not something that will be forgotten. So it's not just a neutral thing. You will remember that. You know that that is so special. It is not doing something with the mind. But this doesn't mean the darkness of confusion or lack of presence. Also, it doesn't mean the darkness of confusion. It doesn't mean the dry run into a transcendental reality, ignoring or denying such magical appearance. So you don't want to just say, no, this is still illusion. You just integrate it. And this kind of presence, this kind of excitement and stillness are the very nature of such condition of self-awareness. And I will give you an example related to meditation. Often it is happening that I can feel a kind of inertia in people when they start meditation. And it's because of this we can complain that meditation doesn't go deep. And this lack of presence happens for some at the very beginning of meditation. It's not only about the body having a presence and eliminating an inert tendency towards nodding off or so, but also the mind. For example, in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, they would recommend the so-called Mahamudra attitude, the great attitude, which starts by imagining ourselves on the top of a mountain. This is not just about a visualization, but is that zooming out, that recollection. You are present in a wider sense. It's like an integrative me. And let's do a very short experiment. So please, just for some moments, close your eyes. Deep relaxation, dropping any memory, thought. And now contemplate me here now. What a miracle. Well, keeping this sense of wonderment, gently open the eyes. And the question is, did you observe any difference between the initial state of meditation and what appeared when I said, me here now? Were you able to see the difference between these two moments? What was before and after? Well, if yes, this is not okay. So, the very beginning of meditation should be with this full sense of presence. So when I close my eyes in this exploration of myself, in meditation, in that presence, is about this. Me here now. So it's not that, oh, at the beginning I was just relaxing my body and I was absent-minded, or I was in just a passive inert state, but then suddenly that sense of presence came. No, it should be there all the time. So learn in meditation to start and continue with this recollection of yourself. And then such full presence, this flowing river of awareness. Again, it's not theory. It's not an intellectual net in which we try to catch the fish of reality. Actually, this fish of reality is more like water. It always slips through the net. like Tao. You want to catch it, but you cannot. There is a haiku, a short poem, Gochiku haiku, which describes this. He says, the long night, the sound of the water says what I think. So, the long night, the sound of the water says what I think. Of course, if we try to understand it with our mind, it becomes very abstract or strange, but it's just this dissolution, this integration and dissolution is the beauty of the sound of the water. And that sound of the water flows, and that says what I think. My thinking is not about thoughts, is just about that non-conceptual flow. In that long night of no particular stories or so, just an absorption, just an integration and dissolution in this pure I am. It is quite late. I will continue. I still feel that there are some elements to be clarified related to such a perception, these teachings of the fish, because exactly as the calmness of the subconscious mind by bringing stillness again and again in our thinking is what Patanjali named Nirodha Parinama. No, the dissolution of a transformation of dissolution in which he named it like this, in which everything dissolves in stillness. In the same way, not in connection with thoughts, but in connection with emotions, sensations, this can happen. So it's a silent me that embraces the sunset, that embraces the fish coming and going. Everything happens to me, this integrating me, I am all, which dissolves in this I am, carrying all that beauty. And I will conclude with a poem of by Rumi. He said, if you want great wealth and that which lasts forever, wake up. If you want to shine with the love of the beloved, wake up. You slept 100 nights, and what has it brought to you? For yourself, for your God, wake up. Wake up. Sleep no more. Now, are there other questions? If not, let's have a moment of seeing each other together. So please, Yulia, Carol, maybe you can help to see all of us together. And now is a time in which you will be able to activate your camera just to see each other. Same joy, gratitude, embracing in this I am. We will start retreat this Friday. We will have a meeting for those who are doing the retreat on Thursday before retreat, and then we'll have the retreat. So next week we'll not have the satsang because we'll be in the retreat, and we'll end the retreat on Sunday on 17th, and also on 18th of we'll end on 11th, and on 12th we'll not have the satsang, only on 18th. So we'll have the next satsang on 18th of May. We will announce this as well, and you are very welcome.